Okay. Hello, everybody. Looks like I have hello, Catherine. Thank you for joining. And no one has to chime in by any means. If you want to stay on the outskirts, that's fine. But there is a Q&A afterwards. So if anybody wants to chime in and ask some questions, then they can. Thank you for joining me on my pilot episode of my new weekly LinkedIn Live. And I see some more folks are joining right now. I'll let everybody get in here. You know, I got to figure out a way to let people just come in without requesting. This is my first time around, so I'm still learning myself some of the ways of Zoom. And actually, it's my first time, I believe, ever hosting on Zoom. I've always kind of joined one, so lots to learn today. But know that by episode 2, it's just going to be like a full-on production, like Hollywood style. It's going to go seamless, and I will let everyone in. Let's see if there's anybody else here.
It's going to go great today, Matt.
Hi, Lottie. Thanks for joining.
Hey, happy to be here.
I wonder if I take off enable waiting room. Maybe that'll just let people come right in. Wow, participants. I'm so sorry, guys. My first time in.
Don't sweat it. just keep hitting admit.
That's it. That's what I'm hitting. I probably just banned everybody. They're like, "Where's the waiting room?" There's no waiting room anymore. We're only gonna have us 4. So thank you. I will get started because I know it's a half hour and I tend to talk long. So I will kind of work on sharpening my skills of sticking to relevance, and so I won't ramble too much. But today I just want to introduce myself. Go over just literally a few quick items. I won't get too lengthy because, again, I want to do this every week. So instead of give you everything now and try to just jam pack it in, let's just kind of massage these things as we go through. And again, this is going to be interactive. I plan on, the Q&A afterwards, but just having interaction and dialogue after this on LinkedIn, I think would be relevant. And, even if you want to message me or email me with what items you're struggling with, it could be show ideas. So I'm always open. Oh, good. They are just joining automatically. Okay. See, look at this. And let me make sure everybody is, okay, there we go. Okay. So today, first I'll tell you about myself. I'm 𝗵𝗲𝗶𝗀𝗀𝗲𝗿. I am a certified resume writer. I've been in HR since 2003. I started off as a recruiter. I was in staffing at 𝗟𝗓𝗘, which is a great recruiting firm. Kicked the can there for a few years and kind of wanted to get into HR because the HR recruiting world is different. And if anybody on the call is considering a career in HR, recruiting is a wonderful spot to kind of learn, because there are plenty of staffing agencies that are willing to hire, and they do give base and commissions. So it's not all just commission work. And essentially got into HR recruiting after staffing. And my clients went from the hiring managers at these different firms to all the hiring managers in-house. So all my clients were essentially fellow employees that were doing the decision-making, and I would meet with them and I would vet candidates and source and have interviews and negotiations and all sorts of fun stuff. And that's kind of where I really started to see, from their perspective, living in those rooms, of what turned them on and what made them tick. And, the one thing I'll say about all that I learned from that, other than best practices that I can kind of share as I continue to grow, because things change. And so things that worked in 2005 aren't the same either. But the one thing that doesn't change is that hiring is expensive and it's long. When you go from posting and meeting with hiring managers to sourcing, vetting, recruiting, filling the pipeline, bringing them in for multiple interviews with decision makers, then you got negotiations and background checks and referrals, and your recommendations checking, references checking, all that takes a lot of work. And then by the end of it, then they got to train you and onboard you, and that takes time. And then if you kind of fluff out and fizz out after a month, they're like, crap, that took a while, and they really liked you. So that's why when we're recruiting and when we're sourcing and when we're hiring, that's why they're being meticulous. And that's why there's kind of a game you got to play, because quite frankly, they want you to be the person, right? When you apply and they see new resumes online, they're just hoping you're the person. So if you get an interview, cherish that, because that means they actually think you could be the person. They're not bringing you in to have a good half hour of time after lunch while they're kind of, feeling that mid-afternoon nap. You got to take it serious. So know that they're on your side. Don't look at HR and recruiters and hiring managers as this kind of, you against them. It really is something that can flow together and work together. And with that said, my transition into what hiring managers are looking for today, because I've sat with these people, I will say the first thing is they like the handcrafted, customized resumes with a proper layout. I'll say ATS optimized keywords, which ATS is that applicant tracking system stuff. A lot of people on the call, even if you're a job seeker, you probably heard of it by now. Essentially, it's just software for us to store resumes, and the larger pool of candidates we get, the harder it is to find you again. So they just have this thing, this ATS thing that lives there that says, come check it out. Come check out resumes on here. Type in some keywords and we'll show you some resumes that you stored here through the years. It does other things too, but that's kind of what it's supposed to be doing for these recruiters. When I say hiring managers look for a nice layout, a resume that kind of passes that 7-second test, the recruiters are more the ones that like the ATS optimized keyword stuff, because those are the words they're using to find you. Like I said, the hiring managers like it though, because when they see these words on the resume at the top, and I'm going to go through layout here in a second, but when they see this skills at the top, now they're seeing words that relate to their world, and that excites them, because if they're a supply chain manager, they're going to have relevant supply chain skills right there to kind of get them going. Okay, this person lives in my world. Now let's see what they've done. What value do they offer, and what's their unique selling position? Then finally, they want this kind of content to be arranged so it is what I like to call PAR, but there's a ton of different ones that we've coined in the industry through the years. Essentially, problem, action, results. So every sentence should start with, what did you do and what was the outcome? It might not be a problem all the time. You don't have to necessarily worry about the problem part of that. If there is, great. But what did you do and what was the outcome? How I form my sentences, I like to have a lot of metrics if I can, because numbers look good for hiring managers. They like to see those numbers. It kind of sticks off the paper. But if you don't have numbers, you can have these things that I call business quantifiers. So whether it's driving profitability, reducing waste, eliminating bottlenecks, implementing process improvements. I mean, I have a whole article on these things. There's 100 of them. I mean, there's more than that. I mean, there's so many ways to keep KPIs and metrics, these key performance indicators that you're responsible for on your day-to-day. So as a job seeker that might be fortunate enough to have an employer right now and employed, do take note of these neat stories that you lived through, that you've helped out to make success at the facility or at the operations, and then start trying to track your own little KPIs. What are you doing? If you have a project on Monday and you get it done by Friday, what did it entail and what was the outcome of this thing? That's a story. You want to hold on to that. So when you go to develop your resume, you got 10 of these things, and there's your experience part for that role. And then not only that, this is another way that passes that 7-second test that I talked about at the top of the call. There are going to be recruiters, hiring managers, resume writers, career coaches. We all have this visual kind of this eye for what we feel is a good resume right away. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. You kind of develop this through the years of just doing these things 100 times over. So to get the 7-second eye test to kind of pass through that, this will be heavy on that content. So it's the visual layout, the keywords, and the actual content is structured appropriately. Now, the layout I like personally is a combinational template in a format. So this is essentially, your name and contact, your summary, which is about 3-sentence kind of value offering driven kind of statement that says, look at me, how much value I offer in this type of world and in this role. And then that's it. And if you got a little bit of purpose at the end of it, kind of like exactly what you want to be doing, that's fine to add that in there. It's not so much an objective, but it's just a nice little way to weave in your intentions. And it's nice to cut through. Hiring managers appreciate that. And then I have those skills after the summary, and you can, maybe about 9 skills total is a good number roughly. You can source these directly from the job description, which is the #1 place to do so. That is also the LinkedIn endorsements section at the bottom of everybody's profile. There's those keywords that they let people can endorse you with. Go to people's profiles that you either aspire to be or are like-minded in the same level as you, and see what they have. That's also a good way to find out some upskilling opportunities. What are you missing? And then after that, I like to, the thing that separates a combinational resume is that the next section is an accomplishment section before the experience. This accomplishment section is, first off, awesome because here are all your really neat stories or accomplishments are right there in the forefront. You can have maybe 5, 6 of these. And then also it's a good spot to put stuff that might be old and outdated, but really cool and relates to what you're trying to still do. And instead of having to list it under IBM in 1990, now you can just put it under there and during the interview explain where it was. So it's a way to kind of catch some of the older stuff and not let it fall off the resume completely. Then the experience section, which I talked about, and that's the most important part. So take that serious. I mean, not, the whole thing has to be, but the experience is where, as a recruiter, when I was recruiting, I had a bad habit of going right to the experience. I was one of those. There's a lot of us out there that just go right to the experience. So for what it's worth, that's going to be as important as anything else. And then finally, you filter out the rest of the details that are relevant: education, certification, affiliation, and volunteerism. The only other thing is, if you're a technical person, IT folks, please do not embed acronyms throughout the whole first page and even into the second of your experience. Be very mindful of how much tech speak you're throwing at people. You want to make sure you're more operational minded with your resume, and then let the tech stuff kind of live at the bottom of the resume under a technical skills section. Only need this if you are in IT. You don't really need, or like a role that will kind of maybe like a digital marketer can maybe have one of those technical sections, because you can kind of list out your aptitude relating to whatever it is that is required software wise and that you've gained over the years. So, you got to be specific. You don't need it necessarily if you're, someone like an accountant maybe that only has QuickBooks and Word. Well, you could put those under your regular skills at the top, right? It's not too much heavy tech. And then the relevance though, that's the resume spots. That's the relevant stuff of the resume. The second thing hiring managers look for today is being relevant, genuine, and sincere during interviews. Okay, so trying to pull the wool over our eyes and stuff like that, it just doesn't work, and especially with the whole, like the microcosm of this, how we are now with social media and everybody's kind of transparent. They can figure out pretty quick the type of person you are, unless you literally live off of, you live offline, which not many people do anymore. So you got to be mindful of trying to kind of fool them. And not only that, what's the point? Because if you're not going to be gelling with the work, it just makes for a messy situation, and it could blacklist you from future roles. So work on mentioning the victories or project successes in the interview that best relate to that role or that are just super neat. And your best bet is to only, figures I have a call coming. And your best bet is to have these narratives ready to go and ready to be told and not redundant, right? So don't beat a dead horse. If you've already mentioned one project success during an interview, try not to mention it again, right? So try to get like a solid, 10 really sweet project success stories that you can kind of expand upon and try to almost checklist them off as you say one. You can have a little binder in front of you and maybe just have 10 little reminder words and then cross it off real quick if you went through that one. This is key because first, it shows that, hey, do you have anything else you can do other than this one project you keep beating up on? And also, this goes with that sincerity will flow out of you as you continue to talk about these successes. More and more of your personality shines through, and they like that. It's almost like you have so much to share. How could you possibly get in this hour? The more relatable to the role, again, the better. They want someone, ideally, they want the purple squirrel, they call it, the candidate that checks every box on the job description. They're hard to find, right? So they'll take 7 out of 10 checks, literally at this point, because they know they can kind of fill in the rest with training or what have you. So if ideally, if you're not someone coming from like a competitor doing the same exact role, then they're going to be flexible with how much you can offer. So don't try to BS your way through something you might not have. Just be honest with them, but you can always kind of, back talk it a little bit where shouldn't be such a concern to them. And you just got to figure out the language to use where it's not robotic, but it's also ready to go if that stuff comes up. There's certain questions they always ask, like, tell me about yourself. Be prepared for this. If you're not prepared for an interview, how serious are you taking this role? And it might shine through to them where they say, how serious is this person taking this role if they can't even answer stuff about us? Did you research the company when they start asking you about the company? Did you have closing questions? Because you always want to end with some answer or some questions. So, play the interview game smart and strategic, but also be genuine. They can tell pretty quick now. And finally, sorry, I got to get a glass of water here. I just got done with another seminar before this. So I'm kind of just running dry today, but and this is from my Cleveland Browns Tumblr, the relevant Cleveland Browns.
You let the dogs out.
It's our time now. Oh,
Yes.
And finally,
We had a bar here that was really every time the Browns would play, we would all go over there, and that was pretty much all you heard all night.
oh, it's the best.
No.
We don't even know how to live through this. We're so shell shocked. We're like, this can't be real life. I mean, this is how absurd it's gotten over the last 25 years that we don't even believe it yet. But I don't know. Now we have to go to the AFC Championship. It's that or bust. I won't go to. So the final thing is, you have to follow directions when you're filling out applications or online career profiles, right? So anytime you go to apple.com careers, they say fill out the profile. Do not skip over stuff. Even if you got to put not applicable, N-A, N-A, whatever, /A, do that, because every box needs to be filled in. And if it auto-populates, let it auto-populate. Click the little auto-population. You have no idea how important it is nowadays to fill out those things. Not only as meticulous and thorough as possible, but you have to be honest. They can fire you if they end up hiring you because they found out you lied under one little stupid question on the career portal application. So fill it out in its entirety, let it auto-populate, and make sure you're truthful to that. And please do not do quick apply on LinkedIn. Just go through the portal, because the quick apply can look a little lazy. I'm not quite sure how it filters in with the artificial intelligence with those applicant tracking systems, but I do know if you apply through the company's portals, having worked in HR, those portals dump us resumes every morning from the night of applications, and they sit right there on our radar, and we're ready to look at them. Who knows if you're applying through third-party sites, how the heck it gets through there, but just be safe and apply through the actual company portal for that role. And that's kind of my 3 things hiring managers are looking for today. I am going to open this up for a little Q&A for about 15 minutes. So, if you wish to, there's only 7 of us here, 6 of us. So, not everybody at first, but if it gets bigger and bigger as we go on, hopefully, I'll try to have some sort of formality, a formality over here where you kind of maybe put it in the chat and I can just start riffing off of the chat. But for now, if anybody just wants to unmute and ask me a question, go ahead. That's fine. And I'm ready to answer.
I have a question, Matt.
Yes, go ahead. Who's speaking here?
Oh, I'm sorry. It's Catherine.
Catherine, hello. Sorry, I had my notes in front of me. Okay.
It's okay. Is it wrong? I mean, I've been going literally through just recruiters rather than going on LinkedIn every day and applying for every job every time it shows up. But is it wrong to ask, how did the interview go? I mean, will they tell the recruiter that? Or, I mean, would you get any feedback?
It's funny. I feel like back when I recruited, they wouldn't tell you. They would just ignore you, and no one cared, and you just kind of felt kind of kicking the dirt. But now,
all I got yesterday was, we went with another candidate. That was it. Thank you very much.
Well, two things there. What you want to do is follow up and say something like, hey, that's fantastic. You guys found the right person. You know, glad that you probably have that off your plate, and don't take this word for word. I'm just kind of shooting from the hip. I have actual something
Right.
you can say, and email me if you want me to send a template, but you just want to wish them well and say, that's great. Please do consider me though, and hold me on file for future opportunities, because I really want a chance to work there. And what's nice is you actually got through already. So you don't really have to like, kind of cold message these people. They already know you. You've already had a relationship built. So just be honest with them and say, that's great. Hey, please do ping me though for future opportunities I might gel with, because again, it is such a neat thing you guys are doing over there, and I really wish to be part of it. But having said that, the recruiters is awesome. Stick with recruiters. They work for free. You know, they get paid in their own little way, so you don't have to worry about it. But so stick with the recruiters at targeted geographical locations. You know, if you only want to work in Charlotte, hit up every recruiter in Charlotte. Just don't pit them against each other. You know, you be honest with them. If you're applying through a company with one of them, make sure the other one knows, because that can, they all know each other, or at least they'll figure it out soon. But have them all work for you. B, LinkedIn is crucial now, and especially because, again, the old days when I was recruiting, they used to just not even care about telling you, you know, if you were a viable candidate or not. You know, they would just, you know, leave it kind of quiet. But now with Glassdoor and people bashing people on social media, I mean, how often do you find customer service responding to you on Twitter more than if you emailed or called them? I find it to be almost like an instant response anymore, because they're so worried about their reputation now online. So a lot of the candidate experience, they're calling it, and they're revamping these things as we're going. This is kind of a new, not new, but it's a hotter issue now that CHROs are responsible for, that they're trying to really make this whole candidate experience seamless, from applying online to giving updates to having, there's one company that's actually having a monthly job candidate type thing where they can interact with the recruiters once a month if they didn't get hired or whatever, and they can still kind of stay in tune with these candidates, because the companies are realizing the importance of keeping around some of these candidates for future roles and keeping these pipelines hot with solid talent. So it all starts with, how is the applicant feeling during this whole hiring process? And that's the candidate experience. So having said that, they should be telling you a couple things. If you want, I don't know how specific they're going to get. I think it just depends on the recruiter and the recruiter's relationship with the hiring manager and the company and how they present kind of this stuff. But if you can just ask that recruiter, say, hey, you know, like I said, really neat if I could get a chance there, could work with finding the right person. Also, anything that you might have noticed that I might have done that stumbled up a little bit that I can work on in the meanwhile. Because, you know, again, I mean, I would kind of keep it simple, maybe not go much more than that, but you could find that out, because if you have a relationship with the recruiter, why not ask where you failed so you could better yourself with it? If they don't get back to you, I get it. Recruiters we're nuts and we're quick and fast, and things can get lost in the shuffle. But for what it's worth, yes, you can do that. Your other question about LinkedIn, everyone's using it now, as far as job seekers, hiring managers, recruiters are on there. I think the number was like 90% or 95% of recruiters are like using it now for that reason, for recruiting. And so I would say I'm loving the whole brand advocacy, the whole brand new thing, where go out there, find the company, find some people at the company that are kind of in the world you want to live in, and see what they're posting and start just chiming in. And if you share, they're going to get an alert that you shared something. After you kind of have your name in their mind, maybe you've chimed in so much that and with some valuable stuff, not just great post, give them some stuff. And if they respond back, now you're starting to build a little bit of rapport. You do this a few times a week, maybe in a month, you can cold message them and say, hey, you know, I've seen you on the posts, and we've had some great discussions, and you know, I just wanted to see if maybe you had a few minutes I can bend your ear. And I always say you can even offer a $10 Amazon card, you know, like just to kind of get them on the horn.
Would that be the recruiter or the company?
This would be for the hiring manager or
Okay.
someone in that department. The recruiters are usually they're just balk, you know, they're just, anytime they can get a chance to find some fresh resumes, they're cool with it. So depending on the company, though, if it's like Google, okay, yeah, that might be a little bit higher to try to get to somebody in there to respond back. But you know, some of these companies that aren't as, you know, this prestige that goes with that might might come back to you and say, yeah, I'll talk to you for about 5-10 minutes of, and all you want to do is find out. You don't want them to read the resume. Your goal of that hiring manager, you're asking them, hey, what does it take to work there and be successful? You've been there for 10 years. What loyalty? I would love to, there'd be such a company I'd really like to work at. I'm such an advocate for this company. And I just want to know, what would it take to be a viable candidate in the hiring process? Or you just start the conversation with offering more value, but as a direct message. So you might have a topic that you liked commenting on with them, and you found an article that relates that they might find interesting. Then just message them and pop over a link and say, saw this, it related to our discussion, thought it might be really neat read for you. Thanks. And then now if they respond back with the thank you back, now you're on this messaging. And now you can even message them in a week later and see if you can pick their ear. So again, it's like almost like a sales funnel, but for you trying to get in with that company and with those people you feel could be helpful in directing you that way. So the end goal is still there, but you don't want them to know your end goal is just to get into this company. Like your end goal is, it is clear, but you want it to almost sound like you're just a regular person trying to figure out some ways in,
And honestly, I really think my resume could use some updating after listening to you earlier. But I mean, I'm an old RN, I'm an old CRA. I've done this since 1992 for CRA, testing and research. So, but the problem is to get my registered nurse title, I had a 2-year associate's degree program. I was a single mother and things never seemed to jibe enough where I could go back to school. There wasn't the online options that are available now. Now that I'm 60, I really, what am I going to get for going back to school? What's my return on that? And that's kind of how I'm trying to base it right there. And so my specific identification to the recruiter has been, I noticed that they're only recruiting for bachelor's degrees. Is there room for someone with, huge years of experience, but with an associate's degree? And then I get back, well, no, they're looking for bachelor's. I'm like, I could have a BA in manicures.
Exactly. It's the truth. When I recruited for Johnson Controls, because we had professionals driving vans, the insurance dictated us having a certain level of a credential. So, and in that case, it was a BS or a BA. So yeah, you could have a Bachelor of Fine Arts and still
make it because I had a bachelor's degree.
Yeah, because as a recruiter, we didn't care. Now, again, this was just how we operated at Johnson Controls. Not every recruiter is going to, some prefer maybe certain networks or alums and that kind of thing. Everybody's different. You know that there's a million people hiring, but we didn't care. We were like, hey, person went to school for music theory, got a Bachelor of Fine Arts, 1976, but now is a mechanic for the last 10 years, HVAC mechanic. Well, bring them in, because
they got the skills.
They cross off the boxes. Exactly. So now, it just depends on the level and that thing. In your case, and this is kind of for anybody, regardless of your age, I mean, it literally does determine if that person won't hire without a bachelor's, it's just because that's the way it is, because that's their policy.
And that's the way it's going since they've had CRA bachelor's degrees now.
Yeah.
When I started.
Right. So, but for you to make that financial investment, that's something you got to internalize and figure out. Is it worth it? How much is it? Is there like a public version that won't be as I can't think.
Cost effective?
Yeah, I was gonna say cost effective. I guess that would be the opposite. One that's not so expensive.
Right.
And, or is there a different, and I'll just lump you into healthcare. Is there a different healthcare role altogether that you wouldn't mind doing that kind of comparable in pay, but just doesn't require the mandates of something that would have to be a bachelor attached to that? So just something you'd have to, and then we could go offline about this if you want to message.
That'd be best.
Yeah, we could talk and see, because then we could figure out your messaging once you do have the aha moment of where, unless it is this, and we can figure out, some more nitty gritty about what you need to do. But yeah, that absolutely reach out to me. I'd love to help. I like anybody who's trying to get to that next level or a career changer are kind of my favorite clients because, you know, transferable stuff, and I probably should have said earlier in the call about the key skills should also be a lot of transferable ones if you haven't been living in that space. But that's kind of a puzzle to put together, and I kind of like doing that. So yeah, please bring on the challenge. We'll talk.
I'll shoot you a message in LinkedIn.
Cool. Oh, good. This is so fun. Anybody else have anything while we have a couple more minutes here? Yeah. Thank you guys. Thank you, Catherine, Lottie, Tanisha, Catherine, and I just missed Layla. She jumped off, but thank you guys. And
thank you, Matt. I appreciate it. This is Tanisha.
Hi, Tanisha.
Hi. And I'm not as, I understand what Catherine is saying because I'm actually in the healthcare field and I have a certification. I have a bachelor's degree, but I also have a master's degree. Okay. And then I went and got a certification as a certified compliance officer. So what I want to do, I want to be obviously I want to work with mostly the compliance and policy side of healthcare because I have done the customer service for like over 15, 20 years. Mm-hmm. So I'm ready to pivot to that policy end. My problem is that when I'm looking for the jobs, it's just, okay, they want a coder. A lot of the compliance officers are coders, which is fine, you know, but now because of the pandemic, a lot of the online, well, you're not able to take the test, the coding test right in person, especially the organization I'm a part of, 𝗟𝗓𝗄𝐻, they only offer 𝗝PC, which is a certified professional coder.
Right.
I'm looking more towards the certified risk adjustment coder. Okay. So I need to know personally how to pivot and get as you say, get your foot in the door. So when the time comes, because obviously we will get to a point where we'll get back to hopefully a new normal where I'll be able to take the test in person. But in the meantime, I'm taking the courses, but that really doesn't help me get in the door.
Right. And I think, I mean, honestly, I think it is more of a waiting game at that point. And I don't mind trying to chime in with my colleagues to figure out this specific, you know, issue, because I don't want to just shoot from the hip with this. I'd have to really try to dive in a little, but I think just from me being, you know, in this world, I would think you're doing the right thing from that upskilling point where right now you're doing the legwork to get that certification. So in the meantime, I think stick with that, but you might almost consider the certifying body of that. What is it? I guess that'd be a CF. What was the coding, the particular certification you needed? The
Certified Risk Adjustment Coder.
CRAC. So maybe there's an association that will certify that, and maybe reach out to them and ask them about, you know, here are your issues and how do I fill in these gaps? Because that association should have some people that live in there that are open and willing to engage with students, if you will, that are kind of certifying themselves through that. So maybe go right to the source first of like who can help you in that world. And that would be one of them, that association. And then maybe also if you have any sort of like colleagues that have gone through this already, or anyone on LinkedIn that has, maybe like do a search where you can see if they have that little acronym at the end of their name, the designation. And even if it's someone cold, just reach out with a nice little message saying, hey, you know, I just wanted to see if I can ask a few questions about this certification because here are my issues I'm having. But as far as like, you know, taking it in person and that kind of thing, I'm surprised they're not letting you guys like take this online, you know, at the end or whatever.
I think there's a point where they're working on it. They're being honestly working on. They have the certified professional coder that you can take online.
Okay,
so they're working on it because I know a lot of other coders who wanted to get additional certification have complained about it because through no fault of theirs, you know, it's, you know, the pandemic. But I just need something that, you know, what could I do in the meantime while I'm waiting for them to do it? Because they probably, I wouldn't be surprised, Matt, if it's by the end of the year, they will have something in place. Because it's just not that particular. It's a lot of the online certifications that they offer. They just can only do the CPC right now.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's more of nothing you can do like physically with your time other than, yeah, maybe just networking with some folks that are already certified just to figure out their experiences and how they use that to strategize their next move or maybe how they got into their next role that might relate in that world you want to live in. And go through the association. I have always gone through associations, and you'd be surprised. A lot of them will have a rep that'll reach out and give you some information. They might give you some one-off collateral that is a general information thing, but doesn't mean you don't have that contact then that sent it to you to maybe say, hey, this is great. Thanks for the information. Do you mind if I have a follow-up email? I just have a couple other specific questions, or try to get them on the horn. But yeah, you need to go right to the horse's mouth. In that case, it's that certifying body and the people that have already got through the certification. Because if it sounds like a new, like you said, new certification, there can't be as many people as a CPC has been around. So you might get lucky.
I think it has been, it's not new.
Okay.
Like I said, the issue is, you know, getting to take the test, which is just because of the environment we're in right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll have to find out.
It's difficult. Because I am in a position where I'm ready to move on to that next level.
Okay.
Because it's very stagnant, and I don't like stagnant.
Yeah, no. Yeah, and you know, I'll even ask my colleagues too, because it's interesting when it's a physical kind of detriment, and that is literally, you know, the way it's formed right now. You can't go into a classroom with 20 people. So I'll find out what their take is and get back to you, because I think that I don't know, maybe there's a resource out there or something.
Well, something to do right now, because like I said, you know, the association is very, very good at providing you the resources. It's just, I guess they're in this particular situation because, like I said, because of the environment. And they may be doing something and I don't know about it. But you know, I just need something to do in terms of, while I'm taking and this is online, this is strictly online. The certification obviously would be, you know, we would go and take the tests normally in person, which is what we've done in the past. Because fortunately for me, I've been in a position where I've proctored the test before, the various tests. So, but we just can't do that right now. So I don't want to be to the point, what I'm trying to do, Matt, is trying to take the courses, take the necessary courses that I have to, and take the, what's it called? The study guide courses. So that they prepare you for the certification. So I won't be behind whenever they start. But I'm really interested in seeing what actually, if I can get a role in a company to, you know, basically have them take a chance on me, being that I'm doing this to work up to the CRC, because that's what I'm looking at. You know, I have the certification and compliance, but it's just they want the coding part, and I get it.
You're still waiting.
But,
yeah, I would ping me after on messaging and share your resume with me, and let's kind of carry the conversation. I know I have a minute left of my Zoom time, but and I don't want, if this cuts off, it's not me, guys, I promise. Okay. But yeah, ping me after. Let's kind of put our heads together and see what maybe other possible, even if it's temporary work like that could just keep you floating while you're in this year. But we'll figure that out. That's something I'd like to be challenged with. Okay. And thank you for the kind words, Lottie. I appreciate it. Everyone, this is awesome. I don't want to cut us off, but I definitely, for my first Zoom, so I don't know if it's going to kick me off right at 2:40. But know that it's every Tuesday and Wednesday. Tuesday on Facebook, Wednesday here at 2 p.m. Or excuse me, was it 2? 2:30. 2. Yeah.
two and one, you know, this like the candy bars.
Yeah, 40 minutes. So I appreciate you guys coming with, and please tell your friends and have them come on. We're going to talk job stuff every week. There's a lot that changes, so we'll try to.
You're going to have to increase the time when you increase the people, right? I'm
going to have to figure out, the Zoom. The thing popped up in the middle of the conversation going, we've gifted you with a few more minutes. I was like, oh. Gifted.
Oh, my goodness. You got your Amazon gift card right there.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, I'll tell you, the $10, who's not going to remember that? But
I
hey,
got $5 from CVS.
yeah, I still remember people took me out to lunch before. I'm like, it's such a thing that works. um,
It
uh,
is good.
yeah, I love the nice gestures. But hey, thanks, guys. I'm going to post this on online too, so if you want to see it again. But otherwise, just ping me if you have questions or how I can help. And yeah, I'll see you guys next week, and stay safe out there.
Thank you
Thanks,
very
Matt.
much.
It was awesome.
Thanks, guys.
I enjoyed it.
Thank you. Bye-bye.